Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Powering Growth. Build your scalable B2B sales engine. My name is Colin Mahan. I'm a director of high growth impact entrepreneurs and head of sponsorships at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit improving access and knowledge in entrepreneurship to advance economic progress for all. As you're going to see in the chat in just a moment, the NASDAQ Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to help entrepreneurs fuel prosperity, no matter where their journey begins. So be sure to check out those links and resources shared in the chat. Now we're going to launch a few polls to take a step back and take a temperature gauge on how all of you are doing today. The first one, how are you feeling about your business? Are you optimistic? Are you in survival mode? Let us know. We use this information to guide the programs we provide for this global community of entrepreneurs. Also, if there's specific topics or challenges you'd like us to create resources for, feel free to share them in the chat. All right, a couple more notes. Let's see. First, let us know where you're dialing in from by dropping in your location in the chat. We'd love to see where everyone's joining us for our time together today. Secondly, we're going to have live Q&A near the end of this session, so please feel free to submit those questions for us at any time using that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We'll do our best to get to as many as we can. All right, let's see where we're coming from. Atlanta, Tampa, Florida, Ohio, San Mateo, nice, welcome. Houston, Washington, Maryland, North Carolina, San Antonio. We got a great mix. New York, Atlanta, a lot of Atlanta, California. Love to see it. Welcome, everyone. Charlottesville, Dallas, Washington. All right, Los Angeles. We are all over the United States. Love that. New York. Thank you for letting us know. Atlanta. Love that. DC, New York. Love to see it. Well, while you're answering these final polls, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the incredible support of our corporate partners. The work we do at the center wouldn't be possible without all of the generosity and belief of our partners and funders, including NASDAQ, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, KPMG, Walmart, the Asian Innovation Hub, Wilson Sonsini, the Nareet Foundation, KKR, and BPO. We're deeply grateful for their partnership and hope you'll join us in sharing that appreciation as well. All right, we're almost there. The last poll, what's keeping you up at night? Let's see where we're at. Numbers look pretty consistent. Looks like sales is at the top of the key, which is good news for all of you because we're going to be covering just that topic in this talk. So without any further delay, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our special guest, Dora Rankin, Fractional CEO, growth strategist, mentor at the center, so many things, author. Welcome back, Dora. So good to see you.
Hello. Hi. 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 Thank you, Colin and team, and welcome. Welcome, everyone. And to the people that are putting in Ohio, OH. When you say OH, you respond with IO. Yes, that's what we do here in Ohio. That's all we got. All right, so I can kick off, yeah?
Yep. All right, over to
Yes.
you.
Yay. All right. Thank you. And here I am. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello, welcome. I'm excited to dive into how to create this sales engine, and I'm glad to hear that it's a topic that is keeping you up at night. So hopefully we can solve that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, do a little get into the right place, and then we'll dive in. So just bear with me for a quick second to make it all pretty for everyone. I would also like to say, as we go through, I know it's hard to be interactive virtually, but it would be wonderful when I ask questions if you can go ahead and answer them inside the chat. That would be great. And so I'm going to go ahead and kick off with the question of have you ever played the game Never Have I Ever? We actually were playing that recently I was in Colorado last week and we were playing the Never Have I Ever game, and I just kept losing because I'm a little bit of a risk taker, and I'm sure all of us are since we're entrepreneurs. But if you've played the game Never Have I Ever, one of the things that I hear quite often is never have I ever wanted to do cold outreach or any type of outreach. And so I'm just not going to. Never have I ever. So if you are not a fan of any type of outreach, I'd love to hear in the chat if you are a fan or if you're not a fan. And the good news is that today we're not going to talk about cold outreach that makes you feel icky and gross, because that's not what the heart style is all about. But we are going to share how to create a flywheel of sales through relationship building strategies. And that requires us to talk to our ideal partners, our ideal clients, and our ecosystem, which also requires us to actually do some outbound work that's not gross. So if you are a fan of cold outreach, and I'm sure there's very few of you, go ahead and put in the chat that you are a fan, and I'd like to know why. But if you're not a fan of cold outreach, I'd like to know all the reasons why. And here are all the reasons I hear quite often of why people don't like to do outbound outreach. And it is because they don't like the way they feel when they get pitched to on the other side. They also don't like feeling pushy, salesy, and any type of being out there and asking for business feels that way. So I'm going to teach you today how to do outbound and how to create a sales engine through doing outbound, but doing it through relationship building strategies versus sounding pitchy and gross and all of the things that we don't want to feel. All right, everybody ready? Good. Okay. So I would love in the chat for you to think about what are you doing right now when it comes to sales, and what are you doing right now as it pertains to marketing. So the first thing is we need to understand the difference between the two. So here's just a little bit of education. So before we can build a sales engine, we need to understand the true difference between what is sales and what is marketing. And we get messed up. And we get messed up because we think that marketing is supposed to produce sales. But really, what marketing's job is to nurture and to help bring exposure to your business. Marketing's job is really not to sell your business. So it's important that we know the difference. And so the simplest way that I have found to coach and to help women entrepreneurs to figuring out how to do this thing, how to start this revenue train, is to know that sales is where you go out and you find your people, and there's different types of people. So it's when you go out and you find your buyer. It is proactive. And marketing is how your buyers find you. It is reactive. And if that's all you leave with today, that is enough to get you started to know just the difference that, oh, if I'm spending all of my time doing reactive things, marketing, versus outbound proactive things, then no wonder why I'm not reaching the revenue goals and getting the sales that I want, because I don't have them together. I don't have a sales process and a marketing process together. So I'd love in the chat if you can think about, where are you spending your time? Are you spending your time doing marketing, or are you spending your time doing sales? So now that you know the difference, marketing is all inbound And inbound basically means you're sending your newsletter, you have your social posts, you are relying on SEO, you're managing your website, you're doing paid advertising. These are all inbound marketing, right? And that work takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to create a flywheel of sales. So if you're doing all of that legwork, don't stop, but just know that does not include a sales process. A sales process takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to start and to activate. That means that you are actively reaching out to your ideal clients, your partners, and your ecosystem. And when you put those together, you're going to create a sales engine. So, I know from all these years of building businesses, whether it's inside the bank or when I built the tech company, I know that there's only four ways any industry can get a sale. And these are the four ways. And then we're going to talk about how to actually do this. So the four ways that create this flywheel, that create this engine, especially if you're B2B, and we'll talk about why, especially B2B, is based off of relationship selling. So relationship sales basically means that you're reaching out to your partners, you're reaching out to your ecosystem, and you're reaching out to your ideal clients. I'm going to go ahead and define that really quickly before we go into the next. You can go ahead and put in, if you know your ideal client and you can name your ideal client by name, not avatar, and you have a list of those ideal clients, that targeted list of prospects that you want to work with, those are your ideal clients, not your avatar, an actual list. Partners are people, not organizations. Partners are people that do something different than you, but they have the same audience. We're going to build relationships with them. We're going to build relationships with our ideal clients. And then the third is your ecosystem. And the easiest way to explain an ecosystem is the relationship that I have with Nasdaq, where it is your audience in the masses that you have a relationship with. So you own brand authority inside your ecosystem where there's a mass audience. That's the difference between partners and ecosystem. And then what you see in the middle there, that's marketing. And what marketing's job is to only nurture that circle around. So if you're doing marketing, but you're not doing the other three things, you're not going to see sales. So think about where you're spending your time. If you're spending 80% of your time on marketing, I'd like you to think about how you would switch that because we want you to be spending 80% of your time on sales and 20% of your time on marketing. And I'm going to give you some how-tos and exactly how to do that. And we're going to do that through using a simple formula, but it's so catapultingly powerful that if you activate this formula in every single revenue generating activity that you do, every single one of those four ways that you get a sale inside your sales process. So if you are following this formula every time you do an activity, you're going to see success in revenue growth. And that formula is simply Q times Q equals R. So we want to build our lead pipeline, right? We want to get leads, we want to get sales, and in order for us to do that, we know now that there's only four ways to do that. We need to be reaching our ideal audience, partners, ecosystem, and marketing around that. We also know that there's a formula. Quality times quantity equals results. What does that mean? That means that your audience is absolutely everything. A lot of times we think that as we're going to market and we're growing our businesses, we think that what we're selling is everything. So if you're a tech product or you're a restaurant, or most of you on the call today are B2B, so you're selling something to a business, a corporation, you're B2B. And so you're putting together this amazing service that you're so passionate about, but you're unable to sell it because all you're doing is 80% marketing and then focusing in on your what you're in perfecting that service, but you're not looking at the actual audience, and that audience is truly everything. And so what I want you to think about is, can you build a list of your targeted audience? So right now, can you think about who is your target audience, not so much from a marketing or avatar perspective, but on a who do you want to work with? So if your target audience is health healthcare systems, do you have a list of all the healthcare systems that you're going to target? Not so much that you have a list that is connections, but an actual list. So if I'm on LinkedIn and I'm doing all my marketing on LinkedIn and I'm trying to sell a tech product to the healthcare systems, I need to have a really big, juicy list of healthcare systems that I'm going to target and I'm going to prospect. And I need to have that. That's my first cue. That's my quality audience. I also want to have that list in two other areas. I want to have ideal client list. I want to have a partner list, and I want to have an ecosystem list. So an example of that would be, do I have a big list of partners that do this, that have the same audience as me, but they do something very different? So back to healthcare, if I'm if I'm navigating selling a tech tool to healthcare, then who would be my partners that also have healthcare as their targeted audience, but they do something different? Because I'm also going to position building relationships with them as well. And then third, where are my target audience hanging out if they're healthcare? Because I need to go brand myself as the authority inside that ecosystem. So the very first thing to do is think about list building. And the warmer the list, the better. So we've got hot lists, we've got cold lists, we got warm lists, but we are going after our quality audience first. Then the second is quantity. I love this one because so many women say to me, "I did it, Dora. I did it and it didn't work." They love to say it didn't work. Let me go back and do all of the marketing stuff that keeps me behind the scenes and keeps me reactive because I'm scared. I'm scared to do all this outbound work. What are people going to think, right? So quantity is really important because are we doing it enough times? That formula, the first Q is quality audience times the second Q is quantity equals results. So we're going to follow this formula all the way through every activity that we're doing. That second Q means quantity. Are we doing it enough times? So if you come to me and you say, okay, I've got my list, I'm sending 5 messages to get a result of whatever you want the result to be. If it's a cold audience, there is no way that that's going to be enough, right? If it's a really hot audience, maybe 5's going to work. But if you have a list and you tell me, hey, I'm sending 5 messages this week and you don't get a meeting or you don't get the result, it's a quantity issue, right? So we need both. We need quality and quantity to get the R, which is that result. The result is we want either a meeting, we're relationship-based selling here. So a B2B sales engine, B2B, especially B2B, they're not buying, your buyer isn't buying because of an ad. They're not buying because of reading your newsletter. They're not opening up your newsletter. They're buying because they are talking to you and they're building a relationship with you. And it's your job as the business owner to create that passion in others. So We're going to build those lists, whether they're hot lists, warm lists, or cold lists, to get a meeting. And that meeting is the relationship sales where we're then going to get the sale. But we have to figure out how we're going to get that meeting. So now that you have heard the difference between marketing, the difference between sales, what this formula is to go out there and create revenue, that we're going to build relationships with our ideal clients, our partners, and our ecosystem, then you're saying to me, okay, I don't know how to find them. And when I do find them, how do I talk to them? I know, that's why we got to test this. So I'm going to give you the script, the guide on how you send messages to people that are not going to make you feel icky, and people are going to respond to you, and they're going to schedule meetings with you. Isn't that good stuff? I mean, let me get an amen on that. So I got your buy-in to do outreach now, that you've got to build relationships as a part of your sales process. So now you've got this list and you have to figure out how to reach out to them. And we need to do this manually before we start using all of the tools that are out there. And I love those tools. I love Apollo. I love Copilot. I love Sales Navigator. I love Dripify. Those are great automation tools for mass outreach campaigns. But if we have not figured out the Q times Q equals R formula, we're just going to send a whole bunch of messages and we're not going to get anything out of it. So I want you to start manually. Manually meaning that you are the one, or your sales team that you're training this to, that you are the one that's actually sending these messages, not automation, especially in the beginning, because you want to get it right. And then once you get it right, you know the audience, you know the quantity, you know what your KPIs are going to be, you know what the conversion is going to be. Then you can bring in one of those really cool tools that will do a lot of the automation for you and help you get the meetings. But in the beginning, let's customize it. So customize it means that you're putting together these messages, and it goes like this. You're going to do a tiny little bit of research, meaning you know who you're reaching out to. And um, for an example, I get messages all day long asking me if I would like to write a book. And no, I've already written a book. Why are you reaching out to me asking me if I want to write a book? Or even better, someone reaching out to me saying that they really want to get leads and calls on my calendar because they know that I'm a business coach and that I really need it. But they haven't looked at all to see that that's what I teach, that I wrote a book and I already know how to create revenue and build a lead pipeline. So I'm certainly not going to respond to a person that reaches out to me like that. So do a little bit of research so you can then introduce yourself. So the very first thing is an introduction, and it's just your name and the name of your business. You don't need to product vomit anything else than just your name. These two next, the two that are next, commonality and complement, are really important because it shows that you have taken the time to show sincere interest in what they're about, not what you want to sell them. This is true pitch-free prospecting because we don't want to sell anything inside this outreach. We just want to get a meeting. And then when we get the meeting, that's the whole other process inside the heart cell where you're walking them down a path to see if you're the one who can solve a problem. But for today, I'm showing you how to create the engine, how to create the leads, how to get the calls on your calendar so then you can actually get to the revenue. So commonality and complement. We want to find something that we have in common with them to warm it up. And we want to send something that's also complimentary, but not cheesy. So if you ever get a message that's like, I just love this about you, and you know it's fake. You know it's fake. So we want the commonality can be as simple as we're both members of NABO. We're both mutually connected on LinkedIn. It could be that general. The compliment needs to be a little bit more like, I just listened to your podcast on this subject and I enjoyed XYZ. See how we have to keep this customized, and we can't just go straight to the automated tools until we figure out how our target audience is going to respond. So we want to compliment them. If it's a healthcare, it's something like, what award did they just win? Where did you just see them show up on cranes? We've got to be specific with our compliment. And then the reason why we're reaching out to them isn't to pitch them. It isn't to say, hey, I want you to buy this tool. I want you to see how great this tool is. Can I give you a demo? Nope, that's not what we're going to do. In the reason, we're going to be intentional about what we want to talk about while we're building a relationship with them. So the reason can be, hey, I really want to talk to you about what's happening inside your business as it relates to XYZ. And that as it relates to is intentional about what you do. So then they understand by the time they get on a call with you, there's no bait and switch. You're able to actually talk about the things that you want to talk about. But again, that's another workshop. So your reason can be as simple as I really would like to discuss your projects and priorities as it relates to XYZ. But whatever you do, do not send do not send the pitch. Do not send the presentation. Do not send the one pager. We just want to get the meeting and know that it's intentional with integrity and with authenticity. And we don't see that much when it comes to sales, right? So stand out and let that be the novelty. And then lastly, the most important piece of sending a message, outreach, anything, whether you're sending it via a Voxer note or you're sending it in a video or you're sending it in an email or omni-channel and they're getting it in every angle, you want to close it with a call to action of no friction. So if all of your messages right now say, can't wait to chat with you, let me know when you're available next week, they're not going to schedule with you. So to create this engine, to create these sales, to get all of these leads on your calendar, we have to say, are you available this day or this day at this time? And I'll also include a link to my calendar. It sounds like overkill, but it's not overkill. What it does is it allows for zero friction for your prospect, your target audience to, if there's even a little bit of interest at that moment in talking to you, they're going to be able to schedule right then and there. If you leave that out, even if they're interested, they'll come back to it, but they end up never coming back. So, that is how you put together an actual script. And once you put together that script and you hit send, I have to say that looking at your time and how you're building your business, you want to be spending at least 8 to 10 hours a week creating this sales engine. So when you look at where you're spending your time, if you're currently spending 8 to 10 hours on your marketing engine, right? We want to flip that and we want to spend 1 to 2 hours a week on our marketing and 8 to 10 hours on our sales. So when we get to that engine, we're able to have 8 to 10 meetings a week on our calendar where we're able to just convert no matter what you're selling. No matter what you're selling. So once we send that message and we put that together, very quickly, I'm just going to go through what it looks like to have a conversation. And again, this is an entire workshop all itself, but I want you to be able to take this and do it today. I want you to be able to say, I have a list, I know how to prospect, and then when I have a meeting, I know how to walk them down that path. So if you think about if we're talking to ideal clients, we're talking to partners, we're getting in front of our ecosystems to create that sales engine, and it's all about having a hefty lead pipeline. These conversations, this relationship building sales technique, it matters the most when you are on a conversation with somebody that's in that target ideal client partner ecosystem. So you want to have that pathway available so you can convert them quickly. And here's where most people have absolutely no idea. They have no idea how to walk someone down a path to see if you're the one to solve a problem, especially a problem that they may not know that they have. So screenshot this. I'm sure you're going to get it too, but screenshot this and use this today. It'll help you in your very next meeting. The first thing, again, is always to research. And we're researching because these conversations are not about you telling and telling and telling and telling and showing and demoing and look at all the great things that I have. It is about them. And if they feel that the moment that they get on a call with you, the more that they're going to open up and share with you what's going on inside the areas that you need to know about to see if you're the one to solve the problem. So do some research ahead of time so you have an idea of who they are and what they're about and what their past and present and future priorities are. And then we're really, really good at building rapport. We're good whether we're in a networking, I was just building rapport with Colin and them right before here. We were talking about trips and all the cool things that we're doing together, right? But what happens right after you build rapport is where everything goes south. And if we want to create an engine of sales, we've got to be able to know how to talk, literally build a relationship and talk to our buyer or our partner or inside an ecosystem. So these are the tools, this is the resource to do that. So the first thing that we're going to do once we get past that build rapport is we're going to establish an agreement of what we're talking about today, which is an agenda and an outcome. We're going to mutually decide right then and there, here are the things that I want to talk about. Here are the things that I want to discuss. Is there anything that you want to talk about? And that's really important because then there's absolutely no bait and switch going on inside the conversation. There's clarity and clearness that at any time the person that you're talking to, they can say no, they can say yes, they can say whatever they want because you've made that mutual decision. And then once we set that agenda and outcome and make that decision, then we're going to immediately start asking them questions. We are not going to start telling them about our thing and who we are and all the great things that our thing does. There's no pitching at all inside a conversation unless you are 100% sure that you can solve the problem that you got on a call to talk about. And we so fall short there because we're so excited to share how our thing could potentially be the answer to whatever whoever we're talking to. So we want to start profiling. And it literally profiling is exactly that. You are discovering, you are exploring, you are opening it up so you are not the one talking. So like right now, all you hear is me talking and you're scribbling down notes. But in a conversation where you're building a relationship so you can pitch because you're the one who's going to solve the problem, you want to be able to get to the point where you have found out and they have found out, even more importantly, that you're the right person for the job. So in order to do that, you've got to profile them. And we've got three different levels of profiling. The first level is where you open the door and you just basically tell them to tell you everything and get them talking. And they want to talk, but are you asking those right questions? So the second level of profiling is take the answers that they're giving you and start digging a little deeper. And you ask more questions and not social questions. We're not building friendships here. Questions that are absolutely relevant to finding out if you're the one who can solve the problem. So if you're a marketing agency and you're selling marketing to car dealerships and you're on a call with a car dealer, and you're asking the questions about what has been your marketing past, present, future, what do you want to see change? And the second question, you get really excited because you hear all the things that they need. And instead of asking them a second question, you start pitching and you start telling them, you're going to lose the sale because they have not brought it up to surface yet. That's why I say three levels of profiling. We keep asking questions. And then the third level is that's where the pain comes. So that's the question like, what have you really done to solve this? And have you figured that out? And what would actually change if you did? So we want to profile, we want to get all meaty. And then after we profile, then it's your turn. And that doesn't mean it's your turn to just tell them all the great things about your business. Your turn is where you're going to share a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your story and a little bit about what you do because people buy based off of emotion. They buy based off of emotion. They don't buy because I went to Cornell. They don't buy because I was at the bank for 20 years. They never buy that way, but they do buy when they hear your story, when they hear a little bit about you and they can relate. So in less than 3 minutes, you're going to share a little bit of tidbit about who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And then from there, that's when, if you have figured out that you can solve a problem, that's when you summarize and you share based off of summary, based off of everything that I just heard from you. It sounds like I could help you. Can I share what that would look like? And that's when, my friends, we get to pitch. We finally get to pitch. And of all a pitch is it's telling them your deliverables, your timeline, and your price, which is less than 30 seconds. So no matter what you sell, you're like, I think I can help you. I can deliver this and this timeline. It's going to be around this much. How does that sound? That's a hard sell conversation. That's all the stuff that's inside my book, which I love to teach in length. But for today, I'm giving you so much. I'm giving you the formula, the prospecting, the conversation, how to build the lists, right? All the things are happening. But I want you to understand what you should be doing weekly to create this sales engine. If the question is, Dora, what do I do to get revenue? These are the things that I want you to do starting today. And I'm going to give you a little I use this thing called the Big Five. And the Big Five is a tracker that helps you with those 8 to 10 hours a week of what I should be doing to create revenue. And so we're going to drop that in the chat so you can have access to the Big Five tracker. It's what I use with all of my clients. And every single Monday, I see them all and they tell me all the things that they're doing for the week to generate revenue. And they're all tied to the Q times Q equals R formula. And they're all creating these sales engines. But it starts with this. So we want to build your lists. Who are you targeting? We want you to be sending the prospecting messages. Who are you reaching out to with that script? And three, do you have enough meetings on your calendar to convert? Because remember that Q times Q equals R works. It really does. So, little testimonials around this. My clients have used this sales process, which is your own Kool-Aid. It's your own relationship building Kool-Aid. It's not a trend. It's what worked for the last 20 years. It'll continue to work even through AI. But clients are booking things. They're booking things like $600,000 contracts and growing businesses to 2.3 million when they started with website selling at 300. And more importantly, they are doing this with purpose and impact. As I mentioned, this is the Big Five planner. You're going to get it dropped in. This is an example of what it looks like. I'm not going to go through all of it, but it's going to help you figure out how do I do this work every single week to get that sales engine running. It's called the Big Five Planner. I've been using it since the late 1900s, as my daughters would say. And I always love to end with revenue and economic power. These months it doesn't matter what the number is, whether it's $100,000 month that you're aiming for or a $10 million year that you're aiming for. I just want you to know that it's possible and that these are the steps that actually work to create that engine. And then lastly, if you are, whether you're in the Midwest or you're all the way in California and you're moving wherever you are, I'd love to invite you all to the Heart Cell Signature Summit. It is my in-person forum that will be on May 29th and May 30th. So if you're a woman and you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out the sales engine, come meet all these women in real life. We're going to be hanging out together. Okay. All the links and all the good stuff are going to be in the chat, and I can open it up for Q&A as soon as I stop share.
Awesome, Dora. Love the content. Thank you so much. What an amazing job.
Thank you.
We've got some questions already in the Q&A box, but if you haven't dropped them in or you're still thinking, drop them in and we'll try to get to as many as possible. Okay, Dora. Well, first one up first. Not a question, but my last name is Rankin too. I love that.
Yeah.
Small world. Okay. So getting down into it, how do you feel about AI software that helps with biz dev?
Um, Great question. Thank you for bringing it. I have a couple of favorites, and it's not because I am an affiliate. It's just truly because I have found that they're really useful. So if you're primarily on LinkedIn, so for people that are primarily on LinkedIn that are doing outreach campaigns, I have fallen in love with Dripify. Dripify is just on point. They have figured it out, and they have made it really easy to automate and stay inside so you don't get spammed out. The cool thing with AI is that you can go in Claude or Perplexity and you can create an agent that says, please use Dora Rankin Heart Cell pitch free prospecting. It'll help you create the message and you can put it all in Dripify and you can start sending messages. But before you do AI, please know your audience, trial manual first, use customization first before you spend money on tons of volume and you don't that Q times Q isn't there yet.
Hmm, smart. Yeah, just like with anything AI, do your research, but it's helpful as a starting point.
Mhm.
Okay, what's the appropriate amount of follow-ups and how long in between follow-ups?
Oh, good one. Um, yeah, I giggle. So follow up beyond omni-channel. So if you send one message and you're building out a sequence in one platform, so if you're using LinkedIn, it's one platform, you're doing this sequence follow up, I would do 4 messages within 7 days. I know that sounds like a lot.
Hmm.
I know. Yeah, so 4 within 7 days on LinkedIn. Omni-channel is a little bit different because you're sending the same message in just different places. So it's the same message, but you're sending it on LinkedIn and then you're sending it in email and then you're sending it on Instagram and then maybe a stork is dropping it off at their house, but it's basically still all the same message, again, 4 times within 7 days. So it sounds like a lot, but people need to see a sense of urgency. They also appreciate persistence if the message is not salesy.
Yeah, love that. Question, relatively easy to ID companies, but how do you recommend finding the right contacts?
Oh yeah, finding the right companies and right kind. um, yeah. My answer to that is changes daily. I mean, that's how much AI is helping with databases. But it's what platform are you on and what database are you using? So it's really hard to answer that unless I know more. Sales Navigator is great. Apollo is still great. Hunter is still great. But if you're doing cold outreach only, um, you'd have to talk with me separately to figure out the platform. But yeah, it's not. There's a lot of AI tools out there that will help you find contacts, but not all of them are great.
Yeah, so it's the art and the science.
Yeah. Mhm.
Let's see. At what point in the business would a fractional CEO be needed?
Oh, yeah. If a fractional CEO is needed, if you're saying to yourself, I am still not exceeding my revenue goals, period.
Awesome. Short and sweet.
Period. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Ooh, do you have any thoughts? So I don't know if you have a silver bullet for this question, but it's around monetizing TikTok. So thoughts around TikTok as a sales channel?
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts around marketing, and TikTok that would be considered marketing. Tik Any social platform is considered marketing, and if you choose TikTok, is your audience truly on TikTok? So figuring out if your audience is truly on TikTok right? And then once you build your following, you're then still doing outreach to everyone that's on your TikTok. So just because you're building your TikTok or building your YouTube and you're getting all those zillions of followers, they're not going to buy until you also have a sales process.
Love that. Yes, the clear line between sales and marketing. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dora. Okay, another question here. Any tips on what to do and what not to do while navigating the BD process? Example, courting a client. You've established the relationship. Position yourself well in that client's mind as the one to solve the problem, but due to factors out of our control, the conversion hasn't come to fruition yet.
Okay. I like that question. Thank you for asking it. It's a really good one. It has a couple of answers to it. One, if you don't have a sales team yet, then CEO needs to be the salesperson. And once the salesperson CEO has then figured out the process, then you can start training it. But so we so much want to just hire the sales and marketing team at the beginning. I did too. Like we all want to do that. And then we flop and flop and flop like Jello on a counter until we realize, oh, wait a second, I should probably be the one doing it. And then we have all these objections. Like they have the relationship, it's the right thing, but things are out of my control. That is the answer is either one, it's a belief and you're telling yourself something that's not real. I don't know. Or two, they really don't see the benefits. And there's only five benefits that any business has. So you can either save them money, make them money, create convenience, bring peace of mind, or create time. That's it. Those are the only five. Happy to say those again for anybody. So somewhere along the line here, they're not seeing that, and you have a belief issue and potentially a sales skill set issue to work through.
Yeah, love that. Somebody said, say those again, please.
I figured, okay, make money, save money, create peace of mind, convenience, or save time. Only benefits any business offers.
Love that. I've heard several versions of that, but I like yours. How would you market yourself as a speaker?
Oh gosh, everyone wants to be a speaker right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, so marketing yourself as a speaker is honestly absolutely no different. You still have to build the lists, you still have to have enough quantity, and you still have to go out there. So really know the audience of where you want to speak. And you're still going to do pitch free prospecting. You're still going to do that. You're not going to go straight to, hey, can I get on your stage?
Mhm. Yep. Let's see. Another question here. How many people should I be reaching out to weekly to get those 8 to 10 meetings?
Oh, one of my favorite questions. It depends on if your lists are hot, if they're warm, or they're cold. So if you have a cold audience, meaning they have no idea who you are and you're starting that process, the volume needs to be big. I mean, big. I mean, thousands if you're a B2B business or if you're a SaaS company. I really do mean thousands.
Yeah.
If you are warm, meaning they know you a little bit, but not really, then it can be less, maybe a couple hundred a week. And then hot, every single one of those counts, every single one. I have a hot list all day long, every day of at least 10 that I'm constantly nurturing and touching and talking to. So that's how you figure that out.
Perfect. This one may be a little specific, but I think there's some helpful advice that may come out of it. I'm in the clinical lab space. My business offers direct consumer testing as well as B2B for employer offered programs. Any tips you would suggest for that market? So they've got both B2C and B2B.
Yeah, B2B and B2C, two separate. Use the Big Five planner and use it separately. So if you're reaching out to B2B and you're reaching out to B2C, unless you're B2B2C, And then you can have one planner. Your sales cycle is always going to be longer on B2B, but you need more volume on B2C, if that helps.
Mm, yeah. What's your take on how long to do follow-ups on clients who haven't purchased yet? I'm trying to figure out how much time to spend on building the relationship.
Mm-hmm. If it is a dream client, there's never a stopping point, period. So if they're not a dream client, let it go within 3 months. I call it the close lost list. So in your CRM or whatever you're using for pipeline management, within 3 months you can close lost it. If they're just ghosting or whatever the reason is. If they're dreamy, you stay on them for years.
Hmm, you never know timing
Right.
here.
Hmm.
Let's see. So many good questions. Keep them coming, y'all. Um, a lot of people are asking for the link to your planner again, but I'm sure we'll follow up that with that in the follow-up email. So no worries, y'all. We'll cover that. Um, okay. From a sales leadership and roadmap perspective, what shift turns a company from closing one-off deals into building a predictable, scalable revenue engine? So how do you figure all of that out?
This is it. Like if you're not doing this, this is it. Just implement this. It'll change. It'll change from that one off to building that runway. Follow this.
Love it. Somebody said, how do you spell Jerpify? The AI tool that you use. Can't find it online.
Yeah, drip IFY.
Dripify.
Hmm.
All right. Let's see. Great question. That's the pivot I'm trying to make right now. I love that.
Oh, dripify. Huh. Yeah, drip
No, yeah,
DR.
drip, GDRIP. Yep. Let's see. So many good things. All good. Mm, how do you identify what social media platform my ICP is on?
Okay, so that would be through what's called an audience audit. And, there's two different types of audience audits. There's the marketing audience audit, where you're figuring out your avatar. 'Cause I built sales teams and I built marketing teams. And so when I was building marketing teams, we were always looking at the audience from a marketing perspective, which is how to talk to them, messaging, copy, online, right? And then there's the audience audit that's like, well, how do I actually go to market and talk to my people in person, which is totally different. So the audience audit that you would do to figure out your ICP for business development and sales is can you figure out and test at least three audiences? Can you figure out the industry? Can you figure out the size? Um, can you figure out the problems that they're having? Can you figure out and test three lists? So going to if I'm just going to use Pilates. If I'm Pilates and I'm trying to get over 50-year-old women into my place, I'm going to go build three lists from three different organizations. Maybe it's chamber, maybe it's a health and wellness group, right? I'm going to find those women, I'm going to build that list, and I'm going to start reaching out. So I got to do an audience audit, which is also inside my book, by the way.
Perfect. Um, so if they're not responding, is there a time to submit more detail on what you have to offer?
If they aren't responding, you hit the next button. That's it. And no, and in any area. So I'd rather hear if you have a conversation and they're like, I'd rather hear no than I'll think about it or it's too much money, because that's just usually they're gonna ghost you.
Mm,
So just hit the next button. We have to
yeah.
have thick skin. We're business owners. We can't take it personally. This is our business.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I get pitched all the time to paint my office space that I don't actually have. I'm like, okay, did you know that I don't have an
Right.
office? Let's see. What's your position on scripts without sounding too pitchy?
Yeah, don't pitch. That's so the script is truly I research them, I introduce myself, tell them how what we have in common. I compliment them on something. I give them the reason, which is not, hey, I want to be your business coach. It is, hey, I want to talk to you about these things. And then it's, do you have time to talk? Right? That's it. It's it's we're not going to pitch in any of the outreach.
Awesome. If you're a new niche product and I guess an existing industry, but you're like new and innovative, how would you go about explaining it to somebody in a cold outreach?
Brand new, and this was my jam. I had a brand new tech product that nobody heard of, nobody knew what it was, so I had to educate and sell at the same time. So I really needed to identify partners first. I had
Hmm.
to figure out who had a similar audience to me that did something different, and I needed to get their buy-in to figure that out first. And then I went to ecosystem and then I went to ideal clients. And I did that backwards in the beginning. I was like, everybody's going to love crowdfunding. Let me go straight to the ideal client. And it was crickets because nobody knew what I was even talking about. So
Hmm.
go to partners and ecosystem first.
Love that. Is the reason part of the script happening in the compliment message or after they've replied?
It's happening in that's all one script, one message. So one message that includes, "Hi, I'm Dora, author of the Heart Cell. Um, we met at this event. I really liked XYZ. The reason I'm reaching out is I want to talk about this, this, and this. Are you available this time on this day? I'll also extend a link to my calendar." That's it.
Awesome. Oh, we're almost at time. Dora, if you were to wrap up all this amazing information into a golden nugget, a key takeaway, if you will, what would you suggest everybody take away today?
I think that it would be to jump on a plane and come to the Heart Cell Signature Summit, May 29th and 30th, to learn more.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Dora, for joining us, for sharing all of the lessons learned over the course of your career. And thank you so much for sharing it. We'll follow up with more information on Dora, all of her LinkedIn. You'll find her website, all of the things. But Dora, what a pleasure to host you again.
Yeah, it's so fun. Thank you, Colin. Thanks, team.
And I hope the conference goes super well. If you didn't get your questions answered, sorry, we ran out of time, but you can reach out to Dora and on LinkedIn or all of the various platforms. And thank you again, Dora. Thank you for everyone for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thanks all.
All right, team. Well, we have a bunch more webinars coming up on the horizon, so check those out. We'll be sending them in the chat and also in our follow-up email. Thank you for joining us online. We look forward to welcoming you back to our community soon. Thanks again, everyone.